Welcome back to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. I was recently over in the West at the RIU Explorers Conference, and I bumped into Scott Williamson. He's the managing director of Blackstone Minerals. ASX code is BSX, and we got chatting. And Scott said to me, "We've got this amazing world-class copper gold project in the Philippines." And I went, "What? I thought you were nickel in Vietnam." So I got all confused. I said, "Right, please come on because I need an update of what you're doing." So Scott, great to see you. Welcome, first time on Making Money Matter. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Kerry. And I'm really happy to be part of the podcast. And yeah, it is an exciting opportunity. So looking forward to running you through it.
Well, let's start with it's I think I read recently that it's a merger of equals. Now there are people out there that may be looking saying Blackstone Minerals, they've got nickel in Vietnam, but you've done this merger. So why don't I just allow you to talk about the rationale, the strategy behind this? I mean, of course, it's copper gold, two of my favorite commodities. Why you've done it and what it means, more importantly, for shareholders and potential shareholders.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Kerry. I'll what I might do is just put up a visual. I know you like your visuals. So
I do.
as I go through this, so yeah, so it's a merger of equals with IDM International. They're an unlisted company, and they've been operating the world-class ManKayan copper gold project. At Blackstone, we've been operating the Ta Khoa nickel project in Vietnam for over 5 years. Unfortunately, the nickel sentiment has been very difficult over the recent times, and we've had to look at other opportunities, and we came across this opportunity late last year. And the rationale is that we can use a lot of our experience in operating in Vietnam can be used in the Philippines opportunity. So we've got a full team of experts that we've been working with in Vietnam. We've got all the equipment required to explore. When we're bringing that equipment across to the
Oh,
Philippines. Yeah, so we've got drill rigs, we've got geophysics equipment. We've built a team that knows how to explore and knows how to develop base metals projects. So the idea is that we can use that team and the equipment on this new opportunity, but we're also going to continue to look for partners on the nickel project in Vietnam as well. So we're continuing that joint venture partnership process, and we're hoping that we can still bring a partner to the Vietnam asset, which would potentially allow us to be free carried. And then all of the new funding could then be pushed into the new asset, which is the ManKayan copper gold porphory, which is the merger with IDM.
with Ta Khoa, because I've spoken to you in the past, and it's quite a big project. It probably does need to have almost like a big brother come in to get it to the next stage. And as you just said, nickel's a tough play at the moment, but I think ultimately that's still a good project, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's correct. And we've invested a significant amount of money into that project. We've gone from what was an early stage exploration play. We've drilled 100,000 meters, scoping study, pre-feasibility, bankable feasibility study. So we've invested a lot into that project, and we're confident that that was the right move. It is a project that requires a larger partner, and we've had interest from both local and international players in Vietnam, and we're hoping to be able to bring that partner to market as soon as possible as well. So it's interesting because it's a not just a mining project, it's a mining and refining project, and that's why it and we believe that that's the future of nickel, is being vertically integrated, producing chemical products that can be fed directly into the lithium-ion battery industry. And that's what a big focus of our efforts in that project has been, really to attract downstream partners from the lithium-ion battery industry.
How confident are you that from a shareholder point of view, that Ta Khoa will find itself, I guess, a mate and deliver that value, I guess, because there was a lot of work put into that over the years.
Yeah, we believe that there will be a partner for that asset. We're confident that there will be a partner, and we're hoping to finalise that very soon. That will allow us to create some value. And more importantly, if we can be free carried, that means that we can then use any new funding in towards copper gold, and it feels like the market would prefer us to do that. It's been the new asset has been very well received by the market. So unfortunately, the market has spoken and it said no more spending on nickel. Can we please move into copper gold? And that, as we know, those two commodities are much more in favour with respect to the capital markets, and that's why we've decided to move in that direction.
And I guess, would I be right in saying you almost got Ta Khoa to a position where it got to that point where you, regardless of the nickel market, let's just take nickel sentiment out of it, you would almost need a big brother at that point anyway, because now you've taken it as almost as far as you could get it. So now we take it to the next step. And as you say, for shareholders, that free carry means you've done the work, you'll get some funding for it, and then they can take it further. And you get, when you say free carry, that means you still have an interest in the project, but somebody else takes it over. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we would drop into a minority interest, and we would and so which would mean that we would get the economic benefit, but not have to bring the capital required, and that's correct. We've it's been a natural progression towards a partnership. Unfortunately, in Vietnam, there is a tariff on concentrate, so which means we've had to move downstream, and that means extra capital. It means it's a big project that needs a big partner, and that's why we've always said that we would bring a partner in, and we're hoping to do that as soon as possible. But the idea is that that partner would bring a lot of that capital, but we would still have an economic interest, which would mean we can get some value from the nickel products that would come from that project.
Okay, right. So let's park that for the moment because you're going to merge with IDM International. My curiosity is, from what I understand, IDM International is located in Australia, but it's a private company, isn't it? And they've got this asset, and I think, if I'm right, I've heard you say that this is a world-class copper gold porphyry. So what I want to know is, why do they need you?
Yeah, so they also head office in West Perth. They've been operating this project for the last 3 or 4 years as a privately held company, and so they've done a number of private capital raisings, and they've got to a point where they need to move into the listed space. They were initially looking at an IPO. Unfortunately, the IPO market has been very difficult for the last 12 to 18 months.
Yes.
And they were valuing their company as a private entity at a very similar market cap to ourselves. And that's why it's just sort of worked for both of us to merge as equals. So it would have been difficult for them to IPO at that market cap that they were currently being valued at, and we just happen to have a very similar market cap. So that allowed for a merger of equals, which would effectively brings their asset to the market, but also then gives the Blackstone shareholders exposure to the ManKayan porphyry, which is world class. And I've looked at a lot of projects over my years. I was previously an analyst in capital markets, so I've looked at a lot of projects globally. This one really stood out, particularly on the gold grades, and we can talk more about that. But a lot of porphyries have good copper, but not strong on the gold grades. This one has got as good, if not better, gold grades than the copper grades. So it's
Just
really
to, just like,
exciting from that
yeah,
perspective.
sorry to interrupt you, but for those that don't know, can you give us the idiot's guide to a porphyry?
Okay. I'll just take this off. So I'm not a geologist, but basically they are large, very large scale uh, copper gold disseminated, so lower grade mineralization, disseminated sulfide mineralization. They come from large intrusions. A lot of them are located on what they call the Ring of Fire, which is a global deep-seated fault line, and they all they are the sort of mineralization that attracts major mining companies because they're not just the biggest copper ore bodies in the world, they're also some of the biggest gold ore bodies in the world are porphyries. So it's a particular type of mineralization that makes very large ore bodies and attracts major mining companies. And that's what really attracted us. And that's why we call it world class, because it has got scale that is one of the biggest ore bodies in the world.
Aren't porphyries quite tricky as well, though? Isn't that they can be.
Um, they are they are fairly straightforward from a mining perspective, depending on which mining method you go with. Metallurgically, they're fairly simple. So, compared to what we've just done in nickel in Vietnam, this is much
A
easier.
piece of cake.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, they are. I think to find a higher grade porphyry is difficult. There's a lot of lower grade porphyries, and that's why we're excited about this one. It's got slightly better grade than the average, particularly on the gold. So they are difficult because they need a lot of capital, and that's probably the difficult part about it is as a junior,
yep.
you need to either find the high grade core, which we think this one has. So this one's got a smaller zone, which is much higher grade, which you could build a low capital starter operation on, or you find a major as a partner, or you eventually, most likely scenario for a lot of these is that the major mining company ends up owning it and building it instead of the junior.
What work is IDM Internet? Actually, no, let's go back a step. Talk to us about the deal itself. You said it was a merger of equals. Clearly, I think the market likes it because your share price has strengthened on the back of this news. Just talk us through, if you wouldn't mind, a little bit of the process and what the deal is like and why you think it's beneficial to current and future shareholders.
Yeah, so the deal has been well received. We were trading pre-deal around 2.9 cents. We have traded as high as 8 cents, so it has been well received. Um, Basically, we've got a team of experts in Vietnam, which we've worked with for the last 5 years. We've been able to take that asset from exploration all the way through to a definitive feasibility study. That works well with the IDM team, who are more explorationists. So they've been really strong on exploration, but also on the community relations and the social license. They've done an amazing job. They've they've delivered a 25-year mining license, and now they've just had an agreement with the Indigenous, so full Indigenous support. So they've done an amazing job. But now we can bring the expertise of Blackstone's team, which is more on the development of mines as well as exploration, and then move it forward. So we bring some expertise that IDM didn't have, but also we bring the ability to access capital. So we've got a really strong institutional shareholder base, which will be very helpful when we go to move towards funding and moving into the next phase of exploration.
Do the IDM International, do they go on the board? What's the new structure look like?
Yeah, so we'll have two Blackstone representatives and one IDM representative on the board. And so a number of the Blackstone board members will drop away, and we're also combining the executive team. So it'll be if you take the directors and the executive team, it's about 50-50. So it'll be a combination of the two board management teams. Yeah.
You mentioned a moment ago that IDM were very much on the exploration side. You guys, the team that you're bringing over, more sort of technical. Is that correct? Is it so?
Yeah,
What?
so with Vietnam, we've actually built a full suite of engineers, metallurgists, geologists, so we can use that expertise that we've built in Vietnam. So yeah, we do, because we've taken the Vietnam asset from exploration all the way through to a bankable feasibility study. We've been able to build that in-house capability, particularly around studies and understanding ore bodies. So that will be definitely beneficial to the ManKayan project. But also, like I said previously, the geophysics equipment and a lot of the equipment that we bought for the Vietnam asset can also be used in the Philippines as well. So looking to bring all that equipment across as quickly as possible also.
When is this merger going to be finalized? Because the news is out, but I don't think is it finalized yet?
No, so it'll take another couple of months. The scheme of arrangement is a process. There's multiple stages. So we're looking to be able to finish that scheme of arrangement merger process by the end of May. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of news flow to come. So the IDM team drilled 2 1,000-meter drill holes. Those assays are in the lab, so we're
Huh?
expecting some assays in the coming weeks. So we want to keep the news flow flowing through the merger process, and then as soon as the merger is complete, we want to be drilling as quickly as possible.
What do you reckon you got your hands on there, Scott? I'm trying to, because I know you can't say about the assays because that would be naughty, naughty. But um, are you going to be looking at this in a different way from what IDM have been doing? Is Blackstone going to be bringing in a new, fresh set of eyes on this?
Yeah, so it's fair to say the IDM team were moving this towards the development phase and pushing down the study phase. If anything, we actually want to strip it back and really understand it more from a geological perspective, and that's why we want to bring in our geophysical team. We want to understand it geologically. We want to do a bit more drilling. For example, we think the veins are vertical, and with angle drilling, we might even get a higher grade. All of the previous owners' drilling was vertical and potentially hasn't captured the grade properly. So we want to do more angled holes. So we do need to look at doing things slightly different. But more importantly, just understanding the geology first, and then pushing into the study phase as after that. So yeah, it's yeah, really exciting because we think that the current resource may be undercalling it. And so it's already 10 million ounces of gold.
Is it?
And yeah.
Okay, you got my
and
attention. Righto. 10
and
million.
on a gold equivalent, I
10
know you
million.
like your gold. So if we go gold equivalent, there's 20 million ounces on a gold. So there's another 10 million ounces in the copper, for example. So it's a very large ore body, but we think there's a lot more to come.
Wow. This is another big project. Well, Scott, you just like getting your hands on, massive projects, don't you? What? Let me ask you this, because I think it's close to some other big mining companies in the area.
Mm.
But why haven't they picked up on this, or what? How did IDM get their hands on it? Because if it's as sounds big.
Yeah, so it's had a long history. There in the region, Philippines, we believe, is opening up for business. We've got a pro-mining president. The two major operators in the region are B2 Gold and Oceana Gold. So they're mid-cap gold miners. But more interestingly, next door is the Lepanto gold mine, and there's another large porphyry there that Goldfields purchased 40% for 230 million US dollars back in 2012, and they invested a total of around $500 million. And so that's the type of investment that these types of assets attracts in the right market. And so that was at the tail end of the last cycle. And we think that we're obviously early on the next cycle, and that's why the juniors were able to grab these assets and sit on them through the bear market. So IDM have done some great work at what I would say is the bottom of the market, and this is an asset that then over time will attract major mining companies again. So it has had a bit of a history. A number of juniors have owned it over multiple decades. Unfortunately, with the juniors, they've only each junior has had enough money to drill maybe 10 holes. So no one's really taken it to the next level, and that's our opportunity. And yeah, looking forward to doing that. And yeah, like I said, it's the sort of asset that will attract major mining companies into the region.
So how are you going to, because you're right, it takes cash. I think what have you got? What cash have you got? What are you going to use that cash for on this? Is it now? any cash you've got is going to go into the ManKayan project. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So we've aimed to get our spend down as low as possible in Vietnam so that all of our cash can go towards the ManKayan project. We've just placed some shortfall funding. That was a $2.2 million capital raising. At the end of last quarter, we had 1.6. So we've got enough money to get us through the merger process, get some of these assays into the market. But once post-merger, we will need to do some capital raising. And yeah, really excited to hit the ground running and be exploring and creating news flows as soon as possible. But yeah, the current cash will be really focused on copper gold in the ManKayan porphyry project.
You mentioned assays a moment ago, which made me sit up and take notes. When are you expecting those to come out?
Yeah, so they'll start filtering through over the next few weeks,
Okay.
and that'll be good news flow during this merger period where things are a little bit slow because we do need to complete the merger before we hit the ground running. So that'll be good a gap filler for news flow is these assays that we're really excited to bring to market. So those are drill holes that IDM drilled and the assays are still in the lab now. So we're hoping in the next couple of weeks.
Wow. Okay. So if I was to say to you, because people might say that there's still a little bit of a risk that the merger may not happen, or are you very confident?
Yeah, so if you look at the register of the IDM entity, 40% is owned by the board and management, and then another 20% is owned by a company called Bezant Resources, and they're an AIM listed entity that IDM bought the asset off. So there's 60% of the vote is in those two blocks, and so they are obviously in favour. So board and management have indicated that they're in favour of the deal, as has Bezant, obviously assuming no superior proposal, but we don't see any risk around that. So yeah, it is a very friendly merger and most likely will be going through at the end of May.
IDM, correct me if I'm wrong, own 64% of the project. I'm a little confused about that. Can you help me understand why
Yeah,
it's
so in the Philippines, there's a mineral production sharing agreement which you have with the government, which states that you must have a 40% 40% is the international and 60% local partner. And so this structure has two layers of 60-40. So IDM end up with 64% and the local partner with 36. That's at the mining and the mineral production sharing agreement stage. But once you go to a mining project, you can, Blackstone, for example, can own 100% of the processing facility. So then the 60-40 joint venture with the local would then have an ore purchase agreement with the processing facility. So Blackstone would effectively have 100% interest in the project through owning 100% of the processing facility. The mining entity will make a small margin on the ore, selling the ore to the
right?
processing facility. So
Yeah.
that mining entity joint venture with the local partner will still be profitable, but it'll make a small margin, and then the majority, if not up to 99 or 98% of the profits will be seen at the processing facility and would flow through to Blackstone, for example.
All right. What's your biggest challenge right now, Mr. Williamson?
Uh, so I'd say it's educating the market on the benefits of operating in the Philippines. There has
Yeah.
been a checkered past and there has been some success, B2 Gold, Oceana Gold, and then there's been some difficulties. A lot of the difficulties have been around local partners, and so that local partner is really important. And we're happy that the IDM team have picked a really strong local partner group. So it's really about educating the market around the fact that the new Marcos president, he's pro-mining and really pushing forward and really attracting foreign investment.
Okay.
And so the best way to do that is we will just continue to promote, but also site visits are important. So we're going to be taking a lot of analysts and stockbrokers to site so they can meet the local partner, they can understand the excitement around mining in the region again.
Okay, well, that all sounds very good. Give me 3 reasons to wrap this up. Give me 3 reasons people should be sitting up and taking notice. I know we've done it in a very big, long way, ladies and gentlemen, but if you just listen to the whole thing, here's 3 reasons that Scott thinks you should sit up and take notice right now.
All right. We've got exposure to 10 million ounces of gold and 20 million ounces of gold equivalent. It's in a region that is pro-mining and is opening up for business. So the Philippines is back on the map, and we think that will attract major mining companies, the scale of the opportunity. And these world-class porphyries are the types of assets that are being valued very highly. For example, the Philo deal with the Lundin deal with BHP as a $3 billion deal. So these are assets that will attract major mining companies, and we're going into an upcycle in both copper and gold. We're at the early stages, so this has significant exposure to that next cycle in the commodity space.
Fantastic. Did you hear what he said, ladies and gentlemen? We're just getting started in the copper and the gold market, and I completely agree with Scott on that one. You all need to sit up and take notice because the gold price and the copper price are starting to move, but the stocks have yet to catch up. So I want you to pay attention because this is where, and this is not financial advice, do your own homework or give Scott a call. But I just think that there's the opportunities are there for those that are awake to what is going on in the world. But for now, Scott Williamson, Managing Director of Blackstone Minerals, congratulations on the deal. We look forward to continuous news flow going forward.
Thank you very much, Kerry.